How is it going, everyone? It's Caleb Lumet here, and today we're going to be talking about Fate Stay Night Remastered on the Nintendo Switch. I'm a huge fan of the Fate series. I absolutely love all the different Fate series. I've seen all of the anime for Fate Stay Night. I've seen all of the anime for the different routes and everything that it takes. But today we're mainly going to be focusing on the game, but the reason why I want to bring up the routes is because it's pretty important in this game because your decisions can alter the way that this game goes, and as you play the game and you complete one of the routes, it will actually unlock another route. However, I'm only going to be talking about the first route. I'm only going to be talking about the route called simply Fate, and the reason for that is because I haven't decided if I'm actually going to play through the other two routes yet. If you want me to talk about the other two routes in a later video, let me know in the comments down below and maybe I'll do that. But to be honest with you, if no one really wants me to review them or talk about them, I probably won't, because to be completely honest with you, every route other than just the main Fate route is really depressing. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've seen the anime for them already, so I know what the routes are and I know what they have in them, and they're just very depressing. And you know, the Fate route, the first route you go through, is really the best one. So if you guys want to see me talk about the other routes, I'll do that in a later video, but if not, we're just going to stick to the Fate route and talk about this one mainly. So I played through Fate Stay Night on the Nintendo Switch. I was pretty excited when I saw that this was coming out. I picked it up and I read through it, and I absolutely loved it. Even though I had already seen the anime, every single one of the anime that has come out for Fate, I still was really happy with this game and going through the story of Fate Stay Night all over again. It was really cool to revisit it and see how the visual novel did it, and obviously the visual novel came before the anime, and just to see kind of the inspiration for the show itself. And the writing in this visual novel, first of all, is fantastic. I love the writing. It's very well done, and the story of Fate Stay Night is amazing. If you've never read a Fate visual novel, or if you've never seen the anime or anything like that, you're missing out. It's a great series. It's really about a bunch of heroic spirits all going and fighting for the Holy Grail, and these heroic spirits are actually like mythological characters and also real historical characters, all being summoned by mages to fight for the Holy Grail. And it's really cool because you get to see some really cool heroes, and I'm not going to spoil any of the heroes in this game, because I don't want to, if you still haven't played it yet and you want to play it and you haven't seen anything from Fate before, I don't want to spoil which heroes are in this, because it's kind of part of the fun, seeing which heroes show up. For me, that's actually probably the most fun of all of the anime, even, is just finding out who the heroes are. But, like, for example, in Fate Apocrypha, which is completely different, you have heroes like Mordred in it. You have Mordred in it. You have some characters from fiction like Frankenstein in it. You have Vlad the Impaler. Villains can also be these spirits and come back to fight for the Holy Grail. You see Jack the Ripper. There's a lot of just historical stuff, a lot of mythological stuff, a lot of fictional stuff. All these characters just coming together and fighting for the Holy Grail, and it makes for some epic fights. It makes for some epic storytelling. And it makes for really some interesting character development as well, because you get to see these spirits interact with the mages who summon them, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that you get to learn about the characters all the way around. So I really like the idea of Fate. I think it's a really cool story. I think all of the premise for every single Fate anime I've watched has been really fun, and this game is included in that. This game, the premise is just like what I said, a bunch of spirits coming together and fighting for the Holy Grail so they can ultimately get the Holy Grail and have their wish fulfilled. It's such a cool idea, and I really, really like it. Now, the action scenes in this, since this is a visual novel, obviously you're reading through pretty much the entire story, but it's told with artwork in the background, and the artwork for this game is fantastic. It's beautiful. I love the way the art works. Another thing that I really like about this game is that there's a lot of sound effects going on in this game. There's voice acting for this game, all that stuff, and it's fantastic. I absolutely love the voice acting. I love the sound effects during the battles and the combat, and it's really cool just to see some of these heroes fight each other and see some interesting, different, heroic figures collide, and even some mythological characters collide with real historical characters, so that's really cool too. I do want to throw in as well that the music in this game is really good. All the background music and everything it's really nice, and all the background art, even, you know, just like the background areas and the scenery and stuff like that, not just the character scenes, but the actual background and everything, the settings and everything, all that stuff looks really, really good too. You mainly play as a character named Shiro Emiya, and he summons a character named Saber. So in this route, you are really paying attention to the relationship between Shiro and Saber, and they do such a good job of telling the story of people from completely different timelines, but still, they're so much alike in a lot of ways. They're so much alike, and the whole point of the story is to show how alike they are, but at the same time, even though they're so alike, they're also different in some ways too, but they still have the whole issue of they care about other people more than they care about themselves. They never put themselves first, they always put other people first, and because of that, they are almost careless when it comes to their own life, and it becomes such an interesting story with these two, and the bond that these two characters end up sharing, and the fact that you can get to know Saber more as Shiro, and just learn about her and learn about her past and what hero she actually is. All that stuff, it makes for such a really well told story, and it's just such great character writing. Honestly, this game has some of the best character writing you'll see in anything, and it's great. It's great. I will say that some of these heroes, these historical heroes, they do twists on them. So if you may know some of the stories of these heroic spirits in this game, but just because you know what the actual stories are, doesn't mean you're going to know what the stories are in Fate, because it does take some of, you know, historical things and, you know, twist them in its own way to kind of make it fit Fate. So I want to throw that out there too. It's not a one-for-one recreation of history, but I think that actually helps Fate quite a bit, because it just makes it more interesting, because it's adding more lore to the Fate universe instead of just copying and pasting something from real life. So that definitely, I think, helps personally. But yeah, you play Shiro Emiya, who really just wants to end the Holy Grail War. He doesn't even really want to be part of this. He actually kind of just falls into it by accident and ends up summoning Saber literally by accident. And because of that, he doesn't really have much of a choice but to participate. He can, at one point you actually do have a choice to not participate, but I don't recommend taking that option. But yeah, you do have an option to not do it. Just like in other visual novels, you do get to make decisions in this game, and I think that's important. However, this game doesn't do it quite the way I would like it. I would personally like every single decision you make to matter towards the end of the game, personally. That's how I would personally like it. Now, that being said, even if you make a mistake, you can always reload in this game. You can just reload from a previous save. But either way, I still like the idea of every decision you make eventually affecting the end of the game. I just personally like that. And this one doesn't really feel like it does it as much, you know. A lot of the times, if you pick the wrong thing, the game will just end, and it will just be like, game over, reload from your last save. And I'm not a big fan of that. I wish they would actually just, like, go on and make really good endings, or at least make every decision matter for the actual end game. So that's just a personal preference, but it's something I want to throw out here. I guess we're going to talk about the negatives now, because I've pretty much been gushing over this game for a while. So let's talk about some of the other negatives. I don't like the control layout on the Nintendo Switch. The controls feel really weird, and it's just trying to get used to the buttons. It's very different from other visual novels I've played on the Nintendo Switch and Xbox as well. So playing this on console, it just felt like a lot of the buttons were backwards, and it didn't feel like it was mapped very well. So that's just something else that I noticed that I wasn't a huge fan of, and I think they should have probably fixed a little bit. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot of other negatives. I did notice a couple spelling mistakes, but that's not something that really takes me out of the game. I just noticed it every now and then. So yeah, that's all I could really say about that. And the only other thing I would say is that maybe some of the chapters start to last a little too long. This is a long game, by the way. This is a very long game, and I think the majority of it is very well paced. But every now and then, there's sometimes, especially even the last chapter, it drags on a little bit too long. But still, I think the majority of this game is fantastic and very well paced. In fact, this game, if you are looking for a very long game, just doing this one route in this game, it took me over 30 hours. So, lots of reading, but it's a long game, and it definitely feels very rewarding, and it will hit you emotionally. This game definitely, I didn't expect this game to actually make me tear up, but at the end of the game, it got me. It got me at the end of the game. It definitely did. One system that I really like in this game that I don't think I've ever seen in any other visual novel is this flow chart. There's this chart that you can go to in the menu, and it will basically show every decision you've made throughout the entire game. And not only will it show that, it will show forks from in front of those decisions where it forks off. It won't show you what happens, but it'll show you that there's a completely different fork on the road. If you were to go a different direction, the story would have a different turn. And it's kind of interesting how it shows you that. And if you want, you can skip to any of these moments on this flowchart. So if you make a decision and you want to see what happens if you would have made, the other choice, you can actually go back and select that specific scene, and it will replay the decision for you, and you can make a completely different choice and see how the story basically changes. I think that's really cool, actually. And some of these charts are really important too, because they show you basically how you are progressing with the actual relationships in the game as well. You'll see these small little heart shapes on the bottom of some of the pictures on the flowchart, and that means that there is a chance to build your relationship with a character. So depending on your decision, you can actually build your relationship with Saber, or there's another character named Tosaka. You can build your relationship with Sakura, and these decisions will basically add to your relationship with them. And if you make the wrong decision and you don't build your relationship, it is nice that you can just select on the flowchart and go right back to that decision and make the right decision so you can build the relationship you want to build. I do think that's pretty nice. So even if you make a mistake, it's just a simple, easy fix, and that's a pretty nice feature to have, honestly. So even though I'm not sure if I'm going to play through the other two routes yet or not, I may not. I just don't know. I don't know if I want crippling depression. But, even just the main route, just playing through that and seeing the best ending, because it absolutely is the best ending, 100%. Don't let anyone trick you into the other endings. The other endings are not great. The only good thing about the other stories is that you get to learn about some of the other characters, but the actual endings of them, they kind of suck, if I'm being honest. But, anywho, just playing through the main route of this game took me 30 hours. So the fact that I can play through it one time and get 30 hours out of this game is really, really good. And from what I understand, if you want to go ahead and do all the other routes and 100% play through this game, you're looking at over 60 hours easily. So that's pretty good, honestly, especially because this isn't even a full-price video game. This game, I believe it was $30. So for $30, it's 100% worth it, and I think you should definitely get it. Now that I've talked about this game for a while and I've gotten over the main issues with this game, I am going to talk about spoilers, not just for the Fate route, but I'm going to talk about spoilers for the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works route, and I'm also going to talk about spoilers for Heaven's Feel, possibly. All I'm going to say about Heaven's Feel, really, is that Heaven's Feel sucks. That entire storyline sucks. I hate everything about it. The actual anime for it, yes, it's beautifully animated, but the actual storyline in it sucks. So I don't really have much interest in going and playing it. Now, Unlimited Blade Works is interesting because you get to learn more about another character in this game called Archer. And Archer's really cool. He's a cool character when you first meet him. He's a servant of a character named Tosaka. And I really like Tosaka, and I like Archer as well. This route just, again, it goes into some pretty dark areas that I'm not personally a fan of. I don't like seeing certain characters get killed in really gruesome ways, and I'm still trying not to spoil things too much when it comes to which characters die in it or whatnot. But I don't like seeing certain characters die in certain ways. But I will say this. The one great thing about Unlimited Blade Works is that you get to learn who Archer actually is. You get to learn which heroic spirit he actually is. And it's a really good story to learn who he is. It's really good writing. It's really cool. It's interesting. It's very well done in terms of just fleshing out a character, fleshing out a character and making it make sense and everything connects. It works very well for that. It's incredibly depressing to get that answer. To finally get that answer, you just have to go through such a slog. The anime does look very nice for it. I will say the anime looks nice for it. But the storyline is just so dark, And I'm sure the visual novel is probably the same. It obviously won't look as nice as an anime, of course, but I'm sure it will still be just as depressing. So I'm not convinced I want to play through it. The original Fate route, though, the reason why it's so great is because you do get to see a relationship between Saber and Shiro turn into more than just a master and servant relationship. You really get to see it turn into a full-on romance, and it's really beautiful. It's so well done. It's one of the best love stories, not only in anime, but also in video games as well. Now that I've played the video game for it finally, it's just such a well-done love story. Everything about it is so well done. It's beautiful, it's touching, and it's a story of just not only their love, but it's also a story of loss. It's a story of trying to figure out, what's best, not just for yourself, but for those around you. It's just so well done. And I think that if you are going to play Fate Stay Night, make it through at least the main story route, because the main story route is so good. Even if you pick this game up and you only play through the main story route, it's worth it, because it is so well told, and in my opinion, it is the best love story told in a video game. So I'm going to leave it there. I love Fate. I love Fate Stay Night. I love the entire Fate series, frankly, and I was very happy to finally play through this visual novel, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't give any major spoilers. I tried to keep it as hush-hush as I could, but it's a little bit hard to talk about the Fate series and not get into specifics, but, especially when I love the series and I want to talk about the spoilers, if I'm being honest. But still, either way, I still think that you should go check out this game, and I highly recommend that you go play it. If you don't play this game, at least watch the anime. At least watch the anime, all of the anime. Watch Fate Stay Night. Watch Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Watch Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel, even though Heaven's Feel is the worst one. I'm going to be honest with you, the Heaven's Feel story is the worst. However, it is beautifully animated, so I will say that. But go check those out, because they're so well done. Then even check out Fate Apocrypha and stuff like that, these side things, because they're just so much fun to watch, and it's so cool to see all these heroes just pop into anime and start fighting each other. It's awesome. But yeah, I'll talk to you in the next video. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.